When it comes to video game hardware in 2019, I think it's going to be a pretty interesting year when it comes to announcements of new video game hardware. A lot of people are expecting video game hardware to be announced, be revealed, and I think that's a very safe bet. You of course have Nintendo with the Nintendo Switch. Will there be a Nintendo Switch revision? And if so, what will this revision entail? A lot of people are suspecting that a Nintendo Switch Pro could potentially come to the market, or at least be announced in the year of 2019, and I definitely think you'll see some sort of revision when it comes to the Nintendo Switch. But really, the bigger story has to be the successors to the PS4 and the Xbox One. Obviously, Sony is gearing up for something big with the PS5. There's been lots of rumors about the Xbox Scarlet and the Xbox Anaconda and all these different systems that are potentially coming that will be successors to the Xbox One. They could end up doing a bunch of different SKUs right at the launch of the Xbox One 2, or whatever the hell they're going to call it, whenever that system comes out. So a lot of people are expecting a lot of stories to come out from this. And of course, at the end of 2018, we had some kind of interesting information talking about Soulja Boy and video game consoles, but we're done with that. We're done with that. No TMZ 85 here. No TMZ 85 here. But now we have a new competitor coming to the market that's boasting that they will be taking on the PS5 and the Xbox One 2, and that they will be dominating the video game landscape. And I'm really just sitting here scratching my head about this because it really has a lot more questions than answers when it comes to this system. So the system we're going to talk about today is called the Mad Box, that is coming to us from Slightly Mad Studios. Now, who is Slightly Mad Studios? What is making them so boisterous that they will be able to take on the PS5 and the Xbox One 2 and the future of video games? Sit back, relax, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and let's talk about the Mad Box from Slightly Mad Studios and why I don't think this is going to work out.
Hey, RGT 85. Hey, Sean.
Oh my God, it's Stevie Richards! So yeah, Slightly Mad Studios CEO Ian Bell has officially announced the Mad Box, which is a new system that will be coming to the market to take on the PS5 and the Xbox One 2, or whatever the hell they're going to call it. We'll just call it the Xbox 2 for the remainder of this video. Now, you might be saying to yourself, well, why aren't you including the Nintendo Switch in this conversation? Really, the Nintendo Switch is sort of its own unique system, so they're really going for a power game here. And when you start talking about things like power in video game consoles and the power game in general, you pretty much look to the successors of the PS4 and the Xbox One in order to talk about that. Now, like I said, Ian Bell is the CEO of Slightly Mad Studios. Now, who is Slightly Mad Studios? You might remember them from some of the games that they've created over the years. They really came into the marketplace in 2009. They're a company based out of London, England, and they released Need for Speed Shift that was published by EA in 2009. They also did Shift 2 Unleashed in 2011, Test Drive Ferrari Racing Legends in 2012, a game called Biker Bash in 2013, but what you probably know them for is the Project Cars series. Now, Project Cars was supposed to be a series that was going to rival things like Forza and Gran Turismo. It had a lot of potential, it had a lot of promise. We got Project Cars and we got Project Cars 2, but those games never really managed to sort of break into that marketplace. The first game actually did sell well, if I remember correctly, Project Cars 1, but I don't think Project Cars 2 did all that great in the grand scheme of things when it comes to game sales. They were realistic simulation racing games, and while there is a market for those games, definitely, I don't think these games managed to quite hit that market. But when you look at their pedigree of games, it's pretty much all the same. It's all racing games. And what's funny about Slightly Mad Studios is I do have somewhat of a personal connection with this studio. Back in the day when Project Cars was first announced, that game was actually supposed to come to the Wii U because Project Cars was a crowdfunded project that was supposed to come to the Wii U. And a lot of people were questioning how a game with this high visual resolution would end up coming to the Wii U, which of course was arguably a much weaker system compared to things like the PS4 and the Xbox One. And so I actually did an interview with Andy Tudor from Slightly Mad Studios over on Nintendo Enthusiast website, talking specifically about the Wii U version of Project Cars because no one had seen anything from it. No one had heard any Wii U specific information. And as far as the interview was concerned, I really just got a bunch of BS from him, I felt, because he kept talking about how good the Wii U version of it ran, how everything you saw that was indicative of the game on the PS4 would be indicative of the game on the Wii U, but he wasn't willing to give me any screenshots or visuals of the game running on the Wii U, and then the Wii U version never ended up coming out. And a lot of people had a sour taste in their mouth as this was a crowdfunded thing. And honestly, that always kind of bothered me because I always thought to myself, well, if the game was running on the Wii U, why could I not have any screenshots of it running on the Wii U? Why couldn't I have any video of it running on the Wii U? It always felt to me like they potentially used the Wii U as sort of a crowdfunding, buzzword in order to get more money for their crowdfunding campaign, because at that time, the Wii U was a system that did not have games, and crowdfunding for Wii U games was actually very, very successful. If there was a Wii U, Kickstarter or Indiegogo, people were pouring money into that because they wanted games on their system, and this was a big AAA game, from a third party. So I always felt like maybe they used the Wii U name just to sort of get more money with their crowdfunding, and of course the game never came to the Wii U. But that's sort of the back history of Slightly Mad Studios. They're basically a racing company based out of London, England, and now they're dipping their toes and they're saying they're coming after the PS5 and the Xbox One too in the home console market, which is very strange to me. So after Ian Bell made the initial tweet that the Mad Box is coming, he followed up with another tweet saying, "What is the Mad Box? It is the most powerful console ever built. It's literally mad. You want 4K? You want VR at 60 frames per second? You want a full engine for free to develop your games on it? You have it." So that's a very lofty expectation there. Obviously talking about native 4K gaming and talking about things like VR at 60 frames per second, you're obviously having a very big system. You're obviously having something behind it that has a lot of meat and potatoes into it, and that's something that I think could be very, very pricey. Now, when it comes to additional information on this, Variety.com actually did an excellent write-up, which I'll have a link to in the description box down below, that sort of, pieces together other tweets, responses that he made to fans and things like that to get more information on this system. When he was asked about games that will be coming to the console, Bell stated that we plan to allow games from all developers, new and old. The new possibility being many of those that benefit from our completely free development engine. It will be a standalone console. As far as exclusives are concerned, he said, "We think exclusives are exclusionary, but given that we'll be shipping a cross-platform engine to all developers, it will be their choice. As of right now, we have no plans to pay developers incentives to exclude other hardware vendors." So it looks like they want to be sort of like a Steam box maybe, and there's no word if there's going to be any sort of physical media with this or if it's just all digital media, and I don't know, there's just a lot of questions going into this. Now, as far as when this system is anticipated to hit the market, Bell actually sent out an email to Variety that Variety got a hold of, and it says the following: "The console will ship in around 3 years' time, and it will be a console that is the PlayStation or Xbox. It will support most major VR headsets and those upcoming, and the specs will be equivalent to a very fast PC 2 years from now. We're in early talks with manufacturers of components, so we can't say much right now other than we have the designs spec'd out in detail." Bell also went on to say, "We think that competition is healthy, and we have the required hardware contacts to be able to bring something epic to fruition based on our designs. It will be a worldwide console, and while we are in early talks with areas that are, let's say, not particularly open to other vendors at the moment, we have multiple investors ready offering the required funding for us to see that the project to completion, but it's still the early days, and we're looking at the best offers right now. All that we have approached are discussing standard partial and ownership investment deals. The price of the system will be competitive with upcoming console prices. Prices will drop with ship quantity, but we're not planning on taking as large of a cut as console owners to enable us to cut prices massively. We fully expect to be matching the best of the rest early in this life cycle though." And finally, Bell stated that the VR aspect of the Mad Box will be 60 frames per second per eye, so it'll be 120 frames per second total. So when you look at all this on paper, native 4K gaming, 60 frames per second per eye, 120 frames per second VR, it sounds very impressive, but I really have to sit here and just kind of question as to why people would want this system as opposed to something like an Xbox 2 or a PlayStation 5 or even a Nintendo Switch, because as of right now, it looks like they're not going to have any exclusives on a console. And when it comes to console exclusives, they are pretty much what drive people to consoles, I feel. If you want to play the latest Halo game, you pick up an Xbox. If you want to play the latest Uncharted game, you pick up a PlayStation. If you want to play the latest Mario game, you of course pick up a Nintendo console. So to not have any exclusives kind of feels weird to me. And as far as the lofty expectations of the system, I just don't know if they're going to be able to meet these lofty expectations. It's very hard to say what that video game landscape is going to be like in 3 years. We still don't know pretty much anything about the PS5 or the Xbox 2. We don't know what Nintendo will be doing with the Nintendo Switch. As far as, you know, the video game landscape being a monopoly, like Ian Bell said, I don't really feel like it is a monopoly at all. There's 3 hardware console manufacturers out there right now that all offer something a bit different and a bit unique. You know, the PlayStation 4 this generation was the best-selling system so far, and it just did an amazing job with first-party games and third-party games. The Xbox One was really unique in the fact that it had things like Game Pass, where you didn't have to purchase the games, you could just use them digitally, almost like a Netflix-like service. And of course, the Nintendo Switch, with the ability to take the system with you wherever you go and still play console-quality games, really made it unique. So I don't feel like the video game landscape is necessarily a monopoly right now. And I don't feel like in 3 years it'll be any more of a monopoly, because all these console manufacturers are still proceeding with their upcoming consoles. So is there room for a 4th console? Is there room for the Madbox? I really don't think so. And of course, one of the biggest questions is, will there be crowdfunding involved in this? You know, obviously they have done crowdfunding related things before with the original Project Cars. Will we see crowdfunding with this, like we saw with the Atari box, which obviously is coming out in 2019, supposedly, at some point in time? I don't know. I just don't feel like there's enough room in the market for another console manufacturer. Yes, console sales are doing amazing right now. You know, during this latest NPD, console sales were the highest they've ever been. But I don't think a new competitor can necessarily come into the marketplace and ruffle a bunch of feathers and have a bunch of people want to put their games on their system if nobody is buying this system. So do I think the Madbox is necessarily going to succeed? I mean, probably not, but I will be, you know, following up on this. I will be following the situation closely because I think it's interesting. You know, video game hardware is always fun to talk about. This will be a very interesting situation to see how it plays out, but I just don't foresee it going necessarily very well because I just don't think there's enough room in the marketplace. But maybe you think differently, so let me know in the comments section down below what you think of the Madbox. Do you think this is going to be successful? Do you think that'll eventually come out, or do you think it's just going to end up being vaporware and we'll be talking about this 2 years from now saying, what happened to the Madbox? Let me know in the comments section down below, and as always, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications, and as always, I will catch you guys on the next video. Later.